Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Greta, and I'm here today with the entire Wellbeing team to facilitate this session. This is our 12th webinar and the final one for this series of Wellbeing workshops. We really hope that you enjoyed our presenters, and if you've missed any session, we'll be sharing all recordings on Sunday next week. Before we start with the presentation today, I kindly ask you to log on menti.com so that we can start with one introductory question. So please go to menti.com, and once you're logged in, type the code 2813587. We'll be typing the code in the chat, and you'll also be able to read it from Menti. Can we please have the Menti question? So we'd like to ask you, what does well-being mean to you? Just a couple of words. The code to join us is 2813587. Contentment. If you can, please log into menti.com, or a few more answers are coming. We'll be using Menti throughout the session, so please keep it open on your background. Happiness, inner peace, friendships, absolutely. Supported, appreciated, satisfied, mental health, positive self-image. Let's go too fast. Optimism about life, confidence, resilience, peace, safe and secure place. Yes, we all need that. Emotional health. Thank you so much. That's very interesting. I would now like to welcome Cass Germain. Cass is a teacher at Horizon English School, and her focus today is on the area of staff well-being and the importance of self-care. And that's actually a great topic right before the weekend. Hopefully, we'll all have a bit of extra time for ourselves. I will be back at the end of Cass' session for the Q&A discussion. Please type your questions in the chat on the right of your screen. For now, over to you, Cass.
Hi, thank you so much, and thank you everybody for your time. I appreciate it's Thursday afternoon, so thank you so much for being here and for your participation. I'm going to share my screen with you, and I want this to be as interactive as possible, so feel free to engage or ask any questions. And yes, staff wellbeing and the importance of self-care. So a little bit about me. I'm a British primary school teacher based here in the UAE. I'm also a sociologist, so I love the study of people, and I have a qualification in life coaching that's empowering people to be the best version of themselves. So I wanted to start with this quote, and it says, knowing others is intelligence, knowing yourself is true wisdom, mastering others is strength, mastering yourself is true power. And that's the basis of this session. When you know yourself and you know who you are, then you can show up others and show up better in your classroom, in your relationships with your peers, your colleagues, your children. So thank you for your participation. And it was lovely to hear that you just said about health and optimism and confidence, and many people know these things, but what do you actually do to show up for yourself? What does that mean to you? How are you showing confidence? How are you showing safety? How are you showing well-being? How are you looking after your mental health and your mental well-being? And these are things hopefully we'll go through in this session. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. So as a warm-up team, I want you to just have a think about these couple of questions. How many decisions does the average person make in a day? How many decisions does the average teacher make in a day? Who has the biggest impact on student achievement? And what's the biggest impact leaders can make to support staff well-being? I appreciate there are lots. I'm going to go through them. There we go. So decisions. On average, as humans, we make 35,000 decisions per day. Teachers make 4 decisions per minute. And I want to just draw your attention to this Herman whole brain model here. So our brain is essentially made up of 4 different parts. You've got the logical, the holistic, the interpersonal, and the organized brain. And as educators, and I'm sure you'll relate to this, we often intertwine these decisions. So sometimes logical, you're thinking about planning, then you've got the interpersonal, you're managing your student and class relationships and parents, then you try to be organized with the school day, and then holistic, which is basically making sure you're okay. And often we're doing that simultaneously throughout the school day, which actually can lead to something called decision fatigue, where we're just making so many decisions on one spot, and that essentially results in burnout. And there's good news about this. We can prevent it and manage our own well-being to manage this whole brain model more effectively, so we can show up as educators for our staff and for our pupils in and outside of the classroom. So the answer to those questions was actually teachers have the biggest impact on student outcomes, student attainment, regardless of students' attainment, background, location. It's actually when those children are in that classroom, it's the teachers that have the biggest impact. And when I discovered this, it was so insightful to think, wow, teachers often have this decision fatigue where they're just constantly making decisions and feeling overwhelmed. And actually, they're the ones in the room that are the gold stars, if you like, that really impart that knowledge and that space of safety for those children and students to flourish. And so the biggest outcome from what leaders can do to support teacher well-being, if you like, is trust. There was a big survey that was done, and the biggest outcome was, apart from breaks and thank yous, it was trusting that they could do their job and they could lead in their abilities, and recognizing that. So just paying compliments, the smallest of things. Thank you for that session today. I really enjoyed the observation, or how are you? How's it going? And backing your teachers, letting them know that they can do it and they are making a good job of what they're doing. So here's the research, and I know this year has had a massive impact on a lot of us as educators and parents as well, and the whole world. But there was just studies that have been done. A lot of staff are just functioning in schools, and Dr. Abdullah here says, you can read it yourself, well-being has always been important, but in these past few months we've realised just how important it is. And there's a massive emphasis on student well-being, which obviously a lot of teachers and schools and parents were really honing in on and making sure those children are cared for and feel safe. And I feel that teachers are often the hidden elephant in the room, where if we leaned in, and I can go into more of this, and just ask teachers how they're doing, or giving teachers tools to support themselves so they can show up better in the classroom, I think there'd be a whole school community that would flourish, and teachers wouldn't feel that they're just having that decision fatigue some of the time, not necessarily all of the time. So I want to take this moment, and this is partly my reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, is to ask you what 3 things that you're grateful for, and please comment on the Menti. What 3 things are you grateful for right now? For me, I'm grateful to be in the UAE. I'm grateful to be an educator. I'm grateful for water. So just take your moment to write 3 things that you're grateful for. Here we go. Brilliant. And this is the self-care bit of the reason that this is the self-care aspect of the session, really, is Dame Manu Shafiq, she's the director of LSE. She said, in the past, jobs were about muscle. Now they're about brains. In the future, they'll be about heart. And I feel we're really leaning towards the future of leading with heart. And what does that mean? So when people have emotional intelligence, it means that they were able to, as teachers or as parents or students, as educators, we're able to notice what's going on in our room and to create a state of psychological safety for our children. So what does that mean? It means essentially building rapport, building positive relationships, getting to know our children, our pupils in our classrooms on a level that's about them. So you know, regardless of, yes, there's education and there's a curriculum, when children have a safe space of psychological safety, they're in a space to be more creative, be themselves, allow themselves to have an off day or a great day and share who they are as individuals, and as an impact of that, then are able to flourish and thrive within the classroom and get those wonderful results we want from the children. Studies on emotional intelligence say, you know, a good and emotional intellectual teacher will not only be self-aware, but will also show that empathy and compassion towards the children, parents and peers. Now, we naturally do this as teachers. I mean, we're in a caring profession, but it's about teachers having their own sense of self and knowing what's important to them. And when educators have that sense of self, they're able then to deliver in a way that's right for them. So I know a lot of teachers will say, you know, I haven't had any water today, or I didn't sleep well last night. And it's just managing yourself and knowing what's right for you in order to show it better for your children in your classroom. And we can even teach that to children, you know, about self-regulation and knowing oneself, which again creates positive relationships and knows what works for you. And emotional intelligence is made up of, like I said, self-regulation, self-awareness, motivation, empathy, and social skills. Essentially, this is what I do, coaching. I support people, give them the space to acknowledge what they're about and who they are, and then in order for them to flourish and thrive in their classrooms. And so that is essentially as well self-care. So know what works for you in order for you to be more aware and more present in your classroom, because often, as you'll know yourself, we're so busy in life. We're go, 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 go. And the moment you take a time to reflect and step back and think, what's working for me, what's going well, you're in a better space of awareness and to make conscious decisions that impact your life rather than being on autopilot all of the time. So this is what I've done with my team in my school, and we just did a session on self-care and what that means to them. And so self-care essentially, and this is how you show up in the world, there are different types. And if I can have a moment, I think we've got time, I'd love for you to have a pen and paper and just do this with me, or you can even do it, just say it out loud, or you can put it on the Menti, make it part of your own personal reflection. But just ask yourself, even right now, how are you feeling? Are you feeling tired? Are you feeling stressed? Are you feeling calm? And I want to add to that, where do you feel it in your body? Because often our bodies are an indicator of how we're truly feeling. And a lot of people feel stressed in their shoulder, or you might feel calm and happy, and you have more of a positive body language. And then I want you now to pick an area where you need to show more self-care, and that can be for tonight, that can be for this week, it can be for next week. Is there an area that's coming up for you? So do you need time off social media? Do you need more positive self-talk? If you said, oh, today I'm really busy and I just need to make sure I'm doing this and this weekend. Is it your space? How's your environment serving you right now? Do you need more? Do you need to do some laundry? Do you need to clean your car? Whatever it is that's coming up for you, please make a note of it, or just say it out loud, or have a reflection about it. And then again, so many of us are so good at being our worst critics. And I want you now to just set an intention or set something that you need to do to be kinder to yourself. So like I said, is it, you know, I'm going to eat better, I'm going to work out, I'm going to go for a walk, I'm not going to put so many things on my plate that I can't do, and just set small tasks during the day, whatever it is that serves you. And then again, this is part of future projecting. When you put an intention, if you think about the future and how you'll feel once you've done that. So like I said, for you, it could be, I need to clean, you know, do my laundry. How will I feel? I'll feel accomplished because I will have clean clothes. So it could be as simple as that. And it's about you and your well-being. So everyone has different facets of their life that are important to them at any given time. And I've done this with my staff, in school, and I've done it with the TAs, and I've done it with the teachers, and 100% of the participants actually prioritized their well-being, and 100% recommended it to other colleagues. So we had so much positive feedback from this that teachers actually want it to happen as a regular occurrence in school. And it just created that meaning in from the PERMA model, that sense of meaning and that sense of community, where teachers haven't had the space, and it was voluntary how we did it, and teachers had the space to reflect on their practice in a safe space, and it was about them, and that allowed them then to make positive decisions about how they showed up in the classroom. And a lot said, I'm a lot more positive, I realized I didn't drink enough water, really small tweaks. And now they're doing that with their students. They're checking in on their students. They're in a place where they're showing up and they're a lot more present within the classroom, and ultimately, you know, are more energized to be there rather than that constant, you know, like I said, that decision fatigue. So they're able to manage their thought process and how they show up. So these are some benefits of coaching. Like I said, it relates to the PERMA model. You know, there's positive behaviors, it creates creativity and flexibility, it improves performance, it creates, you know, healthy and positive relationships, which is something we're really all desperate for, I think, this time, particularly, you know, with the restrictions in the classroom. So it really is a powerful thing, and it creates a sense of self-worth, which often, you know, people, when they reflect, they think, actually, I'm really good at teaching this, or I really am great at exercising, or I'm really a good colleague and I can be there. And that's what we want. We want to build positive relationships. So we create staff retention, because staff feel part of an organisation that they feel cares for them. And that's something that's so simple that we can do through these. I was doing these wellbeing sessions, and it was really, really impactful. And again, like I asked you about what you were grateful for back then, again, gratitude eliminates shame, negative self-talk. It really creates a sense of self-worth in yourself, and again, it releases dopamine and serotonin, which are the feel-good chemicals in the brain. So when you wake up in the morning, or I challenge you personally to do some gratitude, whether it's before you when you wake up or before you sleep, just think of something that you're grateful for, and it puts you in a place of comfort to think, actually, it's not all that bad. Well, you know, whatever your situation that you're going through. And if I have time, and again, I can send this to you after you're done, but again, I know, looking at the PERMA model and finding meaning, this is an exercise I can do, and I've done with other clients before, is about finding meaning. And that's basically looking at 4 different quadrants of your life and thinking of, you know, the skills that don't bring you passion, the skills that you have that bring you passion. Feel free to screenshot this screen and do it in your own time. And this is the genius zone, the things that you have that are skills and bring you passion. Skills and no passion. So I'm actually, no skills and no passion. We don't want to be in this zone. And then something that has no skill, but you're really passionate about. This is your hobby. So once you're in the 2 right-hand side columns, that's where, again, self-reflection, you're able to show up and acknowledge yourself and the things that give you joy and pleasure, and ultimately show up better for your students, show up better for your classroom, show up better with your colleagues. So feel free to screenshot this, or again, I can send it to you if you wish to have it for your team or deliver it to your team. More than happy to. So thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it's a Thursday, and I welcome any questions that you may have from now on. Hello.
Thank you so much, Kat. That was really insightful, and you really shared important tips that everyone can really apply. So please, if you have questions for Kat, type them in the chat. I'll start with a couple of questions that we received. I understand that self-care is important, but I'm struggling to manage expectations of colleagues and parents. Any advice on this?
Managing expectations. I would say is that a boundary? Is that a school? Are you a school leader? I want to ask, or is this a teacher asking? And I'm just curious to know where, you know, the standpoints you function from a school policy point of view, or is it from a teacher to parent relationship? It's okay, don't worry. I would say for that it's about boundaries. Do you have boundaries in place that you're setting? Are you allowing parents to email you all of the hours of the day, or do you have a relationship? I don't know if it's a class mum or a rep, or, you know, an email to say, hi, just to let you know, any queries I pick up at 7 in the morning. So they have a structure of when to contact you, because it sounds as if there may need to be some boundaries in place there professionally. And here's the thing about boundaries. When you set boundaries, people actually respect them. They like them. It allows us a place of safety. So people may not know in terms of expectation. If you have no expectations of them, if you've got an open door policy and everyone has access to you, they may not know that that's actually impacting you. So I think as a step forward, and if you're a class teacher, a leader, put something in place about having maybe your own personal and professional boundaries. And if it's a team thing, discuss as a team, what are we comfortable with, you know, to say to parents as a collective, you know, do we want to say no emails after 7 o'clock, for example, or collect emails in the morning? So you're all on the same page and everyone has a space of well-being and self-care. So I know it can create a lot of anxiety when people are messaging all the hours and you're like, oh, is it on me? I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. And I think this is very important also for non-school staff. All of us, we should learn to set boundaries. Very important. The next question, what are your favorite self-care practices? What has helped you the most during this past year?
Oh, that's a really good one. Thank you for asking. Self-care practices, I think environment, being a teacher, you often feel, you get the school accommodation and you feel like, oh, I'm not going to take care. I'm not going to, make it homely because I'm only here for X amount of time. So I've really invested in my environment, and that's made such a difference, like having plants and candles. It's really cheesy, but I really love it. And it just makes me feel calm after home. And exercise as always. Yeah, totally environment all the way.
And that's good. You mentioned really finding what's best for you, what works for you. Probably there's not one fits all. Next question. We found that meaning was lower for teachers in the PERMA survey. What do you think that may be?
May you repeat the question? Sorry.
We found that meaning was lower for teachers in the PERMA survey. What do you think that may be? That's a tough question.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? And that's what I did relate to, sort of what brings people joy, because I think finding meaning is so crucial to individuals.
Yes.
Like oh, sorry. Are we okay?
No, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. My sense of meaning is different to yours, is different to somebody else's. So it's about what, I just showed you a slide beforehand, and it said it had 4 quadrants in it about finding your passion, finding things that work for you. So once you know what's true to you and what works for you, I think you can gain a sense of self, and then you'll be more drawn to things that are more passionate for you. So for example, if you know you really like cycling, you'll want to then go with the people who like cycling, for example. So it's about finding your passions. In terms of colleagues, I think the biggest thing leaders can do is to compliment them. And it sounds so obvious, isn't it? Like, I know we have pat on the backs at the end of the week and we say, thank you for this person for doing that. But even if you are, where possible and safe, able to just walk past the room and say, hi, is everything okay? Can I offer any support today? Or even if you notice something like, I really like your display, or it was great what a colleague said about you, share good news. Because I think often when you're in the classroom, a lot of teachers are so, we're isolated right now this year with the restrictions, aren't we? It's just us and our TA and our little lovelies in the classroom. But also I think the biggest thing leaders can do is just acknowledge staff. I'm sure you're doing this anyway, so it's not, it's not a tell you what to do. And again, I offer coaching as well, so we can build relationships with colleagues. But the biggest thing is just acknowledge staff and say what you enjoy, what you like about them, and share yourself as well. Be vulnerable. And what I mean by that is not obviously say you're having a tough day. If you're a lead, you can say that, but go there with them and say, I know it's really hard. Like, I'm finding days that it's difficult myself. You're really not alone. My door is open for you. So creating that safe space where people can talk should they need to, in a space of safety. But again, if you're to talk more about this, please feel free to message me and email me and we can discuss this further.
Thank you so much. Next question from Michael. What insight can you offer for supporting teachers who have been experiencing an extended period of isolation, not only in the classroom, but from family, friends, and fellow colleagues because of social, physical distancing?
It's so hard. Firstly, I'm sure self-compassion is something that you're doing. Do you have anything in school? And I know that the difficulty is saying we're going to look after your well-being by doing extra things. But I had this idea of doing a book club with school, just so people can have a common interest of non-school related things. So it can be things like that, creating a community that's non-school related. So a book club could be an idea. Again, like I said, do you have an open door policy where people can talk to you? Is there a school counsellor on board that teachers can just say, look, I'm having a bit of a tough day? It can even be coaching that teachers can feel that they can just reflect on themselves. I do big reflection sessions where people say, what's the difficulty you're facing right now? And then essentially when people acknowledge what they're going through, because one person's isolation could be another person's party. So, I think it's acknowledging what they're personally going through, and they're in a space to show up for that and to identify it. The biggest thing I think leaders can do, like I said, is the reassurance, possibly a book club. I can do a reflection session with your team. And it could even be things like thank you, just saying thank you to colleagues who've helped you to create that relationship, even though you're at distance, things that you notice about each other during the time of COVID. But again, please message me and I can help you personally if it's something that's really present in your current team or school.
Thank you. Another question we received: how can I help a colleague who is experiencing burnout? How can you learn to say no?
How can the person learn to say no, or how can the colleague?
Both. How can I help a colleague who is experiencing a tough time, burnout, and how can we all learn to say no?
Okay, so you basically, is the colleague draining you? Is that what we're getting at? I'm guessing that's what maybe. It's okay if they are, it's fine, it's no problem. So, so that's such a good one, isn't it? Because you're like, oh my gosh. So a couple of things. Obviously, if you've sat with the colleague, this is about boundaries and the boundaries you're allowing for yourself. So again, we all want to be liked because we're expats and our colleagues are our family. However, you have a right to say no. And it can be something like this. Thank you for telling me I'm feeling burnt out myself. I'm so stressed. Could you refer them to SL? Is there a member of SLT or school they can speak to? If it's about a mental well-being issue, there are websites they can go to and say, look, thank you for telling me I'm feeling really stressed myself. So you can even say, would you like me to refer you to an organisation that can help you? So you can outsource the help if you like, because I know sometimes you want to be there for your friends, but you're not in a space. So maybe be honest with them. Obviously, if they're feeling it, and say to them, either speak to SLT or speak to a manager or a school counsellor, or say to them, I'm not feeling great myself. So bring it back to you, because I'd say I'm probably not the best person to speak to. Maybe have you tried seeking a therapist or a coach and going that way? And also eliminate your time you're spending with that person. If they're draining the life out of you and they're really impacting you and your well-being, maybe not be so available to them. So again, you're having time with them, but you're not completely cutting off, because obviously they are your colleague and you have to show up. But eliminate the time you spend with them, I would say. Again, message me, have some coaching. We can work on your boundaries.
Thank you again, Kaz, for answering the questions we received. We are getting close to the end, so please, can I ask all our attendees to log back to menti.com? We'd like to ask you one more question. And that's a feedback on this presentation. Overall, how satisfied were you with the quality of the content? The quality of the content of this webinar, the structure, and the presenter, and preparedness in responding to questions. For those who haven't joined Menti earlier, please log into menti.com and type the code 2813587. Thank you so much.
A pleasure.
So that was our last presentations. Thank you so much to all those who took the time to attend, our wonderful presenters and the KHDA team who helps facilitating and solving all the technical issues. Just a reminder, we'll be publishing all the recordings on New Days, New Ways. Most of the sessions are already available on the website. My colleague Aruna will also be posting on the chat a direct link to our YouTube channel to access all the recordings. And for those who have registered with us to attend these webinars, you'll be receiving an email on Sunday with all the links for the sessions. So the direct link for the YouTube channel is now added to the chat. You can take a screenshot before leaving or copy the link. So thank you again. Have a wonderful weekend and Eid Mubarak to everyone. Thank you.